I'm not sure we're going to find the answer to the question.
Mr. Speaker.
I'll call the member Keith Locke.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Green Party will also be opposing this bill, and like the Labor Party speakers, we're very much in favour of the World Cup itself, and hope that it'll be a wonderful festival of rugby, an opportunity to New Zealand to showcase itself to the world, and just mix in every provincial town, mix with the host, the team that's playing the games there. I think it'll be something that enlivens our community across the country, particularly in the pool games, and then of course the big games in Auckland. Really, there's no excuse to override normal processes under the Resource Management Act the way that this bill does. We got the hosting rights to the World Cup, I think, back in 2005. There's been plenty of time to go through all the proper processes. It's not as if this was an unknown thing, that things are going to pop up we hadn't expected in any large way, and it's a good discipline to operate within the constraints of our existing law. And we're having sort of training efforts towards organising it. The first league test, or the lead-up league test to the final of the Four Nations tournament, the one that was held at Eden Park a week and a half ago, that was a test, and by and large it went well. I was at the game. Actually, it's been blown out of proportion a bit. People got a bit carried away with the Mexican waves, and it could have been stopped at the beginning of the first Mexican wave. I was there, and the first Mexican wave, not much went up in the air, and once it gone around 3 or 4 times and people got into the habit of it, more stuff went up in the air. Could have been handled very easily on the loudspeaker as it was at the end of those several Mexican waves. So, and the idea that it was all a bunch of hoons and everything else is quite wrong. So we're on track to organising things right, but I do worry about the way that in practice I think this bill will loosen up the liquor licensing, not tighten it up. And we already have the concept of Party Central and drinking like mad down on the Queen's Wharf. When I went to the Rugby League test, all the pubs were, full to the gunnels with people preparing themselves for the game. That will continue in Kingsland and Mount Eden throughout Auckland. Unfortunately, I don't think that'll be restricted by this bill, the extent of imbibing that takes place. And there'll be a very competitive environment amongst the people providing liquor to get just that bit longer hours under these emergency provisions, and to be able to cram more people in, etc., etc. So I don't think it's going to lead to a reduction in alcohol consumption. And then we have one of the major sponsors, the official sponsor, there's a range of them, but the one that's the beer sponsor is Heineken, and they'll be going flat out getting people to drink beer, particularly their particular brand. And as I understand it, they'll it could change. They'll be selling branded cans, which, if they've got a bit of beer in them when the Mexican wave starts, will be quite dangerous for those underneath the falling cans. So, and I don't know whether the minister who's got these veto powers will get into that and constrain Heineken from distributing its beer in cans. But, hopefully there'll be some move on that between now and the July 1st date. We can sort that out. Yeah, there's just no excuse, and we know about liquor licences. All the venues know how to apply for them. They can start applying for them now if they haven't already. There's no reason why it can't be sorted out without this emergency legislation, be it liquor licence at the venue, or even that this bill covers things away from the venue. And I don't think it'll necessarily, when we're talking about temporary adverse effects being allowed for under this bill, it will include, I think, more adverse effects of alcohol. And it's, this sort of Heineken pushing their stuff, the promotion of alcohol, and we've had it in other sports, the Lion Red and the Rugby League and the Steinlager and the rugby and all the rest of it. That will still continue, I'm sure, and even though the Law Commission is sort of moving down the track, it seems, of discouraging alcohol advertising, the major sports are reluctant to move away from alcohol advertising, so that's going to undercut any efforts under this bill to control the excessive drunkenness that may occur around the World Cup. And also this report back from the Select Committee has a section on ambush marketing, which relates back to the Major Events Management Bill that was passed a few years ago, which, in my opinion, the Green Party's opinion, does go a bit too far in terms of protecting these major sponsors of the World Cup in all respects in quite a dictatorial way. And take Heineken, for example. I'm not sure that Heineken will be putting forward an organic beer at the World Cup. I'm not sure that they will be. I might be proven wrong, and maybe between now and July the 1st, when this bill comes into effect, they'll start to realise that there's quite a appetite for organic beer in New Zealand and come out with a Heineken organic beer brand. But I can see problems arising, and we saw problems arising at the Soccer World Cup in South Africa, where people weren't even allowed to wear orange dresses because they had a tiny tag on them advertising a competitor brand to the official brand of that Soccer World Cup. So I can see that if the Green Party has a little stall, perhaps outside my place, I live close to the Eden Park venue, selling organic, perhaps selling the green beer organic variety, that I will get hustled away for breaking this ambush marketing by selling very much more healthy organic beer. So I can see problems along that line, and under the Major Events Management Bill, this branding and all the rest of it, and restrictions on ambush marketing, so-called, by selling products that are a little different from the multinational brands like organic beer. That ban applies up 5 kilometres up some of the access routes to the venue, so I can see problems developing there. The ministerial veto is just, and the Speaker for the National Party sort of qualified it, so he's going to have to consult with a couple of other ministers. I don't think that's going to really hold Murray McCully, or whoever it is, back very much, having to consult with a couple of other ministers. He's going to be the dictator in this respect, and I think that's one of the key reasons why the Green Party is against this bill. And Trevor Mallard was right to look at this bill a bit against the background of the Canterbury Earthquake Bill, which he said, looking back on it, does leave some questions, and there has been a very significant reaction to the Canterbury Earthquake Bill, the cancelling of a whole realm of our legislation, and allowing orders of council to override all kinds of bills. The Green Party at the time moved, I think, about 7 amendments along the lines of the criticisms that were later advanced by the Law Society people, all sorts of law professors and the like. And, we do hope that earthquake bill, given that there's been quite a bit of progress in terms of rectifying the situation in Canterbury, can be ended as soon as possible, but it should warn us in terms of the public reaction to that bill, particularly from the legal profession, not to proceed down another course of giving big ministerial veto powers, as is the case in this particular bill. So we hope that the World Cup goes very well, and there won't be too many streakers put in jail for 3 years, which is a provision under the major, for 3 months, which is a provision under the Major Events Management Bill, and the two bills together, the Major Events Management Bill and this Rugby World Cup 2007 Empowering Bill, do create a problem, a bit too much of a dictatorial approach, and much of it at the behest of international brands, not in terms of what really is going to make this World Cup click as a really authentic event that everyone gets involved in, and that's what we very sincerely hope will happen.
Ko Rahui Kātanei.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. It's a pleasure to rise to speak on this Rugby World Cup 2000.